correlated, or rather you equated it with Operation Sindoor. Why are you calling it, like Operation Sindoor?
Because terrorists should know that there is no place to hide from the heinous crimes against the innocent. This is the tweet I put forward on the morning of Operation Sindoor. And the same rule applies here.
Do you want to say that this is going to be a new normal for Israel?
Well, if Hamas stays in power, this is going to be the new normal for the world. And that's why not only Israel has an interest, but also India and the rest of the world, to bring about the defeat of Hamas. Now, this is a perfectly legal operation. Just as the operation the Americans did to kill Osama bin Laden, and just like Operation Sindoor. It's a right for self-defense.
What is the end game here?
Well, we want to achieve a situation in which we retrieve our hostages and remove Hamas from power in order to create a better future for Gaza.
Israeli Defense Forces recently carried out strike targeting the Hamas leadership in Qatar. This strikes of Israel drew a lot of condemnation from various countries. India has also asked Israel and other countries to exercise caution because it can destabilize the geopolitics of these countries and the region. I am being joined by Israel's ambassador to India, Reuven Azar, and we will ask him what made Israel to carry out these strikes. Why now?
Terrorists should know, and these terrorists were the perpetrators of the most terrible massacre against the Jewish people since the Holocaust, in which they killed 1,200 Israelis. They should know there's no place they can hide from the heinous crimes. We did it now because Hamas was stalling in the negotiations, because for 1 year, we've been trying to use diplomacy in order to retrieve our hostages. And for 1 year, they rebuked proposal after proposal. Now, this is a perfectly legal operation. Just as the operation the Americans did to kill Osama bin Laden, and just like Operation Sindoor. It's a right for self-defense, and terrorists, under no circumstance, are impune within any sovereign country.
But Ambassador Azar, on the same Qatari soil, you dealt with the Hamas leadership. You had your back-channel talks for the ceasefire. You had your rounds of negotiations in Qatar with the Qatari mediation. Why now you decided to carry out strikes on those buildings where the Hamas leadership was there, and also the Hamas has made these claims that their leadership has survived? So what is the utility?
Realpolitik. We understood that if we want to save our hostages, we have to combine military pressure and diplomacy. And that's why we agreed to that mediation. But what we saw is that we have been tricked, that for months and almost for a year, Hamas has been stalling. They don't want to accept the basic conditions for ending this conflict, to bring back our hostages and to make sure that they cannot rearm any group and control the Gaza Strip. When the Americans put this proposal, again, to finish the war, Israel said yes. Hamas said Israel has to withdraw, we have to stay in control. This is not acceptable, especially after 1 year, and especially after they ordered the most heinous crime of killing innocent civilians in Jerusalem. This only happened 2 days ago. A pregnant woman in a bus was killed along with another 6 civilians and 10 people that were injured. This was commanded from Doha by these terrorists.
But Ambassador, this has been a very deadly conflict. Many people have died on the territory of Gaza as well. Many women, many children, many people have died. Exactly.
Why? Because Hamas has perpetrated this war against Israel. Because Israel has been defending itself. Hamas has been trying time and again to use their own people as a human shield. We are now evacuating the city of Gaza. And we are preparing in the south of the Gaza Strip facilities with water, with food, with medicine. Hamas is trying to block Gazans from going there. They are shooting at women and children just to prevent evacuation. This is the nature of a terrorist organization we're dealing with.
You're absolutely right. You have your own explanation. But the real thing is that whatever number of hostages you could retrieve, you could get from Hamas captivity, that happened only after the ceasefire. Till the time that ceasefire existed, there was an exchange. So why not to go for
condition?
That was a condition. But why not to go for that track?
That's exactly what we've been trying to do for the last year. But Hamas has been refusing. Look, they thought that if they keep enough hostages, they could get some relief from the military pressure by releasing some of the hostages. But we have gotten to the end, to the last batch of hostages. And they know that if they release them, they will have to relinquish power. They don't want to relinquish power. And this is the heart of the conflict. That's why it has taken so long. That's why we were at the verge of striking a deal a few months back, and they backtracked. That's the reason why they rebuked the American proposal, because the international community, including the Americans, now understand that there's no future in the Gaza Strip while Hamas is still there. And that has to change. If Hamas doesn't want to go there, and if Qatar is not going to pressure them enough, then what kind of service are they giving as mediators? They are just harboring terrorists. And when you harbor terrorists, you have to take into account that these terrorists do not have impunity. We have done a very precise strike. I hope we succeeded. We don't know yet. And we had the right to do it under international law.
But what do you mean when you say that?
We are waiting for the BDA. We'll see what happens.
So the bomb damage assessment has not been done as yet?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. But how will you see the role of United States here? And my pointed question is that, did you take United States in confidence before carrying out these strikes?
We have a very deep and good relations with the American administration. We don't discuss what things we share or not share with them. I think that the Americans, from the way in which they reacted, you can understand very well that they do not object, and they don't see in this action something that is inconducive with our right to defend ourselves.
But many people say that it is not possible for Israel to not inform the United States and carry out these strikes. How do you respond to that?
Well, there's been a lot in public about these issues in the past. We didn't share with the Americans when we took out Nasrallah. This relationship with this administration, I think, is a very good one, and we have our ways of sharing. And we trust them, and they trust us.
But Ambassador, isn't it ambivalence of the United States as well? They are dealing with Israel. They are also dealing with Qatar. President Donald Trump has expressed solidarity with Qatar. And they have called the Israeli strike as the heinous criminal strike made by the state of Israel.
Who?
The state of Qatar. The Qatar's Amir has said.
The Qataris can say whatever they want, but they are harboring terrorists. They are giving luxurious villas and hotels and money to people that are doing the most heinous crimes in the world. And if they think that this is something that the world is going to appreciate, I think they are dead wrong. There is one thing, is to be in service of peace. But when you are actually supporting the agenda of the Muslim Brotherhood, when you are using your television channels in order to spread propaganda, not just against Israel, but against democratic values, when you are supporting radical Islamism through your means of communication, by donating money to all these radicals, this is not good faith. And it's about time that the world understands that and stops drinking this poison water that Qatar is giving to them.
Ambassador, this is for the first time Israel decided to strike the state of Qatar.
We didn't strike the state of Qatar,
but
we took action against terrorists. It was a precise action. We have nothing to do against against the people of Qatar, and we consider the people of Qatar as friends. But terrorists cannot have impunity. We can give some slack when terrorists decide to do the right things. But here, we are in a situation in which they were stalling time. They are preventing the end of the war.
Did you give prior intimation, prior information, prior caution to the state of Qatar that this is what we intend to take to carry out if you harbor these Hamas? Because I come back to that question that you have been dealing with the Hamas leadership on the soil of Qatar. So what has changed now?
Well, when you are in a situation in which you try to hold the stick from both ends, at some point the stick will break. Okay? Especially when you are in a situation, instead of trying to put pressure on a terrorist organization, you try to encourage their staying in power. So, we have to be honest about this. If countries want to play a role, they're invited to play a role, and we want to get our hostages back. We are ready for a lot of realpolitik and face reality. We're a pragmatic people, but enough is enough.
But did you see the reaction by Government of India, where the Government of India said that we urge both parties to exercise caution and let us try and not let the peace and tranquility, the stability of the region get disturbed. So everyone should contribute to that. Where does the Israeli policy fit into this resolve?
Well, we welcome the role of India. I think India is a very responsible player and is a very good friend. We have great cooperation with India, and we're welcoming the role in our region. Israel will always use the minimum amount of power needed in order to achieve its goals when it comes to defense. We will never look if people were right and we were just trying to commit mass murder. We could have solved the Gaza situation in 2 weeks. We have the military power to do it. Why is this taking 2 years?
Because you wanted to exercise.
Because we exercise restraint, because we waited until the population is evacuated, because we warned people, because we dealt with very delicate situations in which hospitals were being used for military purposes, and we had to separate the terrorists from the civilians. This takes a lot of time, and we didn't want to kill the hostages.
Do you want to say that this is going to be a new normal for Israel?
Well, if Hamas stays in power, this is going to be the new normal for the world. And that's why not only Israel has an interest, but also India and the rest of the world to bring about the defeat of Hamas.
You correlated, or rather you equated it with Operation Sindoor. Why are you calling it, like Operation Sindoor?
Because terrorists should know that there is no place to hide from the heinous crimes against the innocent. This is the tweet I put forward on the morning of Operation Sindoor. And the same rule applies here.
But with the use of power, there comes the responsibility of restraint and, a commitment for the peace and stability.
That's right.
Where is that?
Well, Israel, as you know, has withdrawn from the Gaza Strip in 2005, taking out even settlers, even their graves out, to give the Palestinians a chance to prove that they can rule themselves peacefully. What did we get in return? Hamas, came to power. They indoctrinated their people to kill Jews. They used all the resources the international community gave them in order to build a machinery of war and terror against the state of Israel. So we have the right to defend ourselves, and the Palestinians deserve a better leadership. We have seen, actually, from foreign publications, that the support for Hamas in the Gaza Strip has diminished. And why is that? Because the population in Gaza understands what Hamas did to them. They don't care about the population. They just care about their jihad and about destroying the state of Israel. And we have to get rid of them.
But Ambassador, Hamas is a non-state. Israel is a state. Israel has an institution. Israel has a strong army.
Right.
So the state comes with a lot of responsibility. Is the state of Israel, what is the end game here?
Well, we want to achieve a situation in which we retrieve our hostages and remove Hamas from power in order to create a better future for Gaza. And we want to cooperate with the United States and other good partners in the region in order to forge together a civilian rule in Gaza Strip that will be responsible, that will care about the people, that will create a future self-rule for the Palestinians. We don't want to stay in the Gaza Strip and occupy it permanently. We have stated that. Actually, Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated that we don't have any interest in the territory of any neighboring state. So we are willing
But still,
to
Israel is
engage
being
in peace.
alleged. Israel is being accused of occupying the larger portion of the West Bank. You did evacuate Gaza, but in terms of the West Bank, there have been many enclaves, and many countries have recently announced that they are going to recognize the state of Palestine, which you objected to it. Are you pushing the situation to a point where it may turn table for the state of Israel?
Well, we are very clear about the fact that we support Palestinian self-rule. But when the Palestinians are refusing time and again very generous peace offers, we are not going to stay put. We have rights on this land. And you cannot create a situation in which time and again Israel offers a Palestinian state, the Palestinians rebuke that, and then they expect that nothing will change on the ground. Many things are going to change on the ground. If we want to give the sense to the Palestinians that they have to rush to the table and make peace, we have to prove them that time is running against them. And those countries that are going to recognize the Palestinian state now, they are rewarding Hamas. Hamas already thanked them. Hamas thinks that this recognition comes because of the 7th of October. So imagine what kind of message these countries are sending to the Palestinian people. That they encourage terrorism, that they encourage Hamas, that trying to destroy the state of Israel is a good thing. This is absolutely wrong. And in many of those countries that are going to do that, this comes from pressures within their political environment, pressures from radical Islamic communities that they have to face. But instead of facing them, they are selling themselves cheap by attacking Israel.
You said that they are selling themselves cheap, but here comes a humanitarian crisis as well. How Israel want to address to that humanitarian crisis? Because we have a humanitarian crisis in the area, in the territory of Gaza, and also there is an apprehension of a spillover in the entire region. How Israel is containing that situation?
Well, first of all, we have managed to contain the spillover because despite the fact that we were attacked from 7 fronts, we've been able to decimate Hezbollah, to put Iran in a box. Suddenly now, Iran is cooperating with the international community. They were refusing to do that before we struck. So we contributed.
Think that it's a result of
course,
Israeli strikes?
Of course. The Iranian Islamic regime is a rogue regime, and they were trying to produce nuclear weapons as a result of our action and the action of the United States. They are now begging the IAEA to come back to Iran. Okay, why is that? It's happening because of our resolute action of retaliation, because we were attacked, and we proved that when we take the precise action, there's no spillover. So now the regional aspect of this war is almost gone. We still have some attacks from the Houthis in Yemen, but it is confined into the Gaza Strip, and it will stay
my last
confined to the Gaza Strip unless terrorists try to hide from us in other places.
My last question to you, Ambassador Azar, that does your Gaza plan includes or excludes the mass evacuation of people from the territory of Gaza? Because we have seen many statements by the US President Donald Trump, many of his advisors there. Is there a possibility, or you are ruling out the possibility of mass evacuation of people from that territory?
There is a lot of propaganda around this because it is only natural in many conflicts around the world that when people want to find a safe haven from hostilities, they temporarily leave the conflict zone. You've seen it in Syria, you've seen it in Ukraine, you've seen it in other conflicts. But guess what? Gaza is the only place in which people are not allowed to evacuate to a safe zone. And you must ask yourself, why is that?
Because they think that if they leave the territory, their rights will be gone forever.
They want to leave. People want to leave the territory. They can come back when Gaza is rebuilt. But why are countries not agreeing to host them? They have very bad experience with Palestinians. Look at what Palestinian terrorist organizations have done in Jordan in 1970. Look what they've done in Lebanon. Okay? So you can always pinpoint, try to put all the blame on Israel, but the nature of the region is more complicated. And people have to understand the complexities. Israel is trying to prevent the humanitarian crisis. We have allowed this. Look, this is unprecedented in the history of conflict. We have supplied our enemies more than 2 million tons of food. Give me one example of one conflict in which this happened. It's completely unprecedented. And yet we are being accused of starvation, which is complete nonsense.
But Ambassador, you are the state. My very last question to you, that how soon world should expect a peace in that region, and when this war or this conflict this military operation is going to end?
This action will be conducive to achieving a ceasefire sooner. We want to achieve a ceasefire last year. But it has to be with only two conditions: the release of the hostages and the renounce of power of Hamas in the Gaza Strip. If that is achieved, the conflict will end very soon. If Hamas continues to rebuke all these offers and to cooperate, this might continue for
Do you
more
want
time,
to have your say?
more months.
But do you want to have your say that who takes over or who controls? Because in the past we have seen you objected to many authorities or who's running the Palestinian affairs.
Well, we don't want another terrorist organization or another entity that supports terrorism to take over. So this will have to be meticulously planned with our partners in the region. I think that we share a common interest here. I think that nobody in the region wants to see Hamas staying in power. And even in one of the resolutions of the Arab League, it was specifically mentioned that Hamas has to be removed from power. So I think we are in consent with a lot of the neighbors. The question is, who is going to do the job? They are not going to do the job. We have to do it.
That remains a question, that who's going to do the job and how this situation gets resolved, because the larger issue remains that nobody wants conflict in the region, but still the conflict is continuing. Thank you very much, Ambassador Azar, for sharing your views. Thank you very much.